So, hi everyone. I just want to greet you again to this session where I will try to make you understand what response in supply planning module is doing. It was a bit short notice, but I could get a good time to prepare this material. And this material, what I will take you through, I will try to answer from multiple dimensions. Why it is frozen for me? Okay. So this would be the agenda for today, which is very brief agenda. So all questions, why, what, how, where, for IBP response and planning. I will try to start with the overall process. Like what is the overall process and why do we need IBP response? I know most of us have worked on demand, S&OP, supply, and other things, inventory, control tower, analytics control tower. So, where does this supply and response planning sits into the full picture of the solution of IBP, and how does it fits in a full picture for a business process? So I will start with that understanding and try to make a picture clear that where does this solution fits in and what does it do. So first slide I will take is that why do we need response management? And the reasons for response management are colliding with the other IBP solutions also. Like in inventory also, we are saying that we are maintaining inventory because there is a demand fluctuation, supply fluctuation. To have that buffer, we keep inventory. But when it comes to inventory, inventory is an expensive affair. Inventory comes with a cost. So if in case there is a less of an inventory or we are in a shortage situation, what to do? So this is answered by response management. If you are in a crisis situation, how can you respond properly to your customer demand? And so the risk of all the above problem is we have inadequate customer service levels. When we say customer service level, it translates into non-delivery of the products when there is a market demand. That we are not capable to provide ample of supply when there is a demand existing. And also it turns into the delayed response to the customer. So these two major problems arrive into the requirement statement. There is a quick response to demand and supply disruptions is required. Suppose there is a big demand coming in from a customer, and we know that from our sales representative that this demand is coming. So there should be a tool where we can quickly see that whether it is possible for us to supply this or not. And if we see that possibility that yes, we can supply it partially, then it is very easier for a supply representative to speak with the customer accordingly, that we have such capacities and this is what possibility is with us and this is what we cannot fulfill. So this is a quick response to an inquiry. So now let us come to the overall process. I think you might have seen this slide, but for the sake of benefit of this whole process, I am presenting it again. And this shows the overall process. And to all the audience and team, please stop me wherever you have a question, and I will be also asking. This will not be a monotone or monotonous thing, it will be a dialogue. Dialogue means I will be speaking and you are also getting chance to speak, or I can ask just to see if the things are being accepted or you are getting the things. So the first top portion, which is colored in yellow, it is a S&OP process. S&OP process, everyone knows that we start with our sales input, history or whatever opportunities we have, and the customer orders, and we generate statistical forecast. And then consensus is arrived at with the marketing and the sales folks and demand planners and demand executives in the business. Then we move to the supply constraints where material, subcon capacity, supplier capacity, inventory targets are there. And after this all is done, we also do the financial considerations which were done during annual budgeting and revised frequently based on quarters or half yearly changes. And this results overall in a S&OP cycle. So this S&OP cycle gives a glimpse of what forecast we are having and what is the component demand. And this has an output to execution run. So this black dotted line is the outside world, which can be an execution system or your vendor or a supplier. So here the customer is also our outside system. So in this planning process, we get a constrained demand here. As a supply constraint, we get a constrained demand here. And this constrained demand, in a principle, becomes an allocation. Allocation means what is the amount you can supply to a customer. And this allocation process gets fed to the order management system. When order management receives the allocation, it is a constraint for order management system. That if a customer is allocated 500 quantity to be supplied and its demand increases by 600 to 600, then that 100 quantity cannot be given to the customer, because generally when the manufacturing in a shortage situation and you have given an allocation, then there is no scope for starving other customer and supplying the additional quantity to this one which is asking for additional. Again, this is based on the business priorities, that whether that customer is a higher priority customer or a lower priority customer, but that we will see later on. So when an order management system generates get order from a customer, it has to give the promise date and the quantity, that yes, based on this order I can confirm this much order on the requested date, and maybe 20% of the order I can do a week later than the promised date. So this whole system, this green and this pink system, is what we are talking today. Any question across the board?
Rahul, this is Pablo. The first question.
Yes, Pablo.
Response, in the case the customer has APO, response is replacing PPDS from APO?
No. A good question, and the next few slides will answer your question. Be with me and okay.
Okay, good. Thanks.
So any other question? Yeah, I can answer the Pablo's question, but I just don't want to break the sequence and the logical flow which I have in my mind.
Rahul, this is Gabriel. Yeah, just to clarify the understanding, it's the excess demand which you get is dealt in response module, right?
It is not a dealt in. There are multiple ways to handle any excess demand. But when that excess demand is coming, it is a matter of the time also. So if excess demand is coming in after 6 months, you can deal with these S&OP cycle. You can plan to increase capacity at that point. If there is a shutdown planned, you can move that or shift that shutdown. So if excess demand is coming after 2 weeks, what you can do is you can play with other parameters which are possible on the production line or internal inventory. You can shift some inventory to that location and deal with the excess demand. But what if excess demand comes tomorrow or day after tomorrow? Then you have very short time to respond.
Yes.
Correct? So every use case or the scenario also depends on your time when it comes, how to deal with that, whether it is a strategic level or an operational level or just day-to-day level. So this whole solution, when we are talking about S&OP cycle, and this is a question to everyone and you also. So what is the typical horizon for S&OP cycle? Time horizon.
It's 2 years, 18 months to 2 years.
Okay.
Usually.
And what is the usual bucket size?
Bucket size, it's monthly.
Okay. So you see here we are dealing with the 2 years time frame. And bucket size is month.
Yes.
And do anyone knows about how inventory planning is done and what is a typical cycle or horizon for inventory planning?
Inventory planning, I think it's every quarter.
Yes. And bucket wise, if you have some information?
Bucket wise, weekly?
Yes, you are right. And weekly. So you see, every solution has a different plan. It is placed in an order of a time bound things. So let us move ahead, and this is the logical flow of what I was trying to present to you. So this is where our whole IBP solutions, which are in a yellow boxes, are shown. All the gray boxes are external boxes. And this is what I am answering to the question from, and this is a strategic, mid-term, short-term operational level and execution system. So whatever demand review, demand plan, supply review, S&OP cycle, what we are doing, financial planning, or sales planning, what we are doing, it is a mid to long-term planning. So has anyone done demand sensing yet in this group or aware of demand sensing?
I'm aware, Rahul, but not done.
Okay, so demand sensing is done on daily basis, day-to-day basis. So this is again closer to your operations. It also considered the daily changing parameters, like what is the situation of your deliveries, what is the situation of your order from yesterday's to today, what is the delta. And the same is the case with our solution which we are discussing today, supply allocation planning and response planning. As this is equivalent to order confirmation, the response planning, it is done at the daily level. It is very close to execution system. So I would term these solution as a bridge between whatever we are doing here as a strategic and mid-term planning for operational level, and how it goes back to the execution system. It is by these systems which are very close to execution system. So there is a lesser of a gap, and it becomes a bridge to port our data which we have planned in a very realistic way to the execution system. So to answer your question, Pablo, this is not the replacing PPDS. PPDS is a planning, production planning system and detailed scheduling. This is replacing GATP. This is replacing CTM. CTM is a capable to match solution. Those who are aware of APO solution would know what CTM does. So
okay, Rahul. So in order for me to understand and the whole team, hopefully, the SAP future transformation roadmap will be in S4HANA.
correct.
So APO PPDS will innovate in S4HANA.
Exactly, you are right.
So the next step for supply is PPDS from S4HANA, because
Yes.
it will continue in the next step in order to do a detailed scheduling. Am I right?
Yes, you are right.
Okay, good. Thanks.
So just to complete what you have said, that from this planning system, you have a constraint forecast getting calculated in supply and allocation planning. That constraint forecast can move to PPDS, and the order promising or allocation which are getting calculated here, the supply proposal will move to PPDS, product allocation here, what my cursor is pointing to, will move to ATP system, where the order promising can be done.
Okay, perfect.
So hope this slide is clear to everyone. Any question? I will proceed ahead.
So GATP will not be part of S4HANA after
So,
supply.
are
I think,
you
Rahul,
yes, yes, Krishna.
before, I think, it might create a confusion. Are you sure? I mean, in fact, my understanding is PPDS and GADP is going to be lift and shift to S4.
Yes, yes.
And configure, what is that called? The CTM is moving into response, right? That's
Correct.
what I...
Yes. So definitely, Krishna, I will clarify to everyone who knows GATP.
Yeah.
GATP system. So has anyone worked on GATP system?
You have expert on.
Okay. So in GATP, there are two components. Majorly, GATP lies in ECC system, where the order comes and you have the check modes and check rules based on a business event which are already existing in ECC system. If there is an allocation scenario, then it moves across the APO system where the planning books are set for the allocation. So when I say IBP order promising, I am principally talking about product allocation part of GATP and back order processing, which is done in APO system. Does I answer the question?
Rahul, would you please repeat?
So only the part of GATP which is a product allocation calculation and back order processing. This moves to IBP and the rest of the execution part remains with the ECC S4.
So if at all, if they use multiple options like product availability check in conjunction with product allocation, so availability check is done in S4HANA and
Allocation
will be done in response.
Yes, yes. So this is how currently it is done, right? In the current also.
Availability check can also be done in APO, right, Rahul?
Yes, availability check can be done in APO, but mainly APO and availability check can be done in ECC also, because your stock values are already there and whatever inventory you have.
Yes, yes, I agree. Yeah.
So that part which can be done in ECC is now going purely to ECC, but that part, the allocation checks, can it be done today in ECC?
No.
So that part remains with the APO and now with the IBP.
Okay, only the allocation part and rest of the rules-based things will be in S4HANA.
Yes, you are right. Rest all rule-based thing would be in HANA.
Okay. Thank you.
So now I just want to introduce to many of you, and those who are coming from APO background will already know the difference between time series based planning and order based planning. So this is the same concept as the live cache of APO. So you have a time series and you have an order based portion in a live cache. So here also the solutions of IBP are divided into these two categories. whatever demand planning, demand sensing, S&OP, inventory, control tower, whatever we are doing, they are all time series based tools. And when it comes to allocation planning, supply and allocation planning, response and deployment planning, it is a order based. So I just want to hear a question if anyone does not understand time series and order based difference.
Rahul, you may want to talk about the bottom part, like, HCI versus SDI, without getting into too many details.
Yeah, I will speak with everything on the data integration part also. So time series, now HCI is called as a CPIDS, which is a cloud platform integration for data services. This is solution for time series based. It cannot handle order based planning. And the equivalent integration technology, what Krishna is saying is, this is the SDI. So next slide, I will get into the next level detail of the same question what Krishna has asked logically. So you have now two interfaces for data integration. So normal what we have dealt with the time series is the HCI, which again is a bidirectional flow with HCI cloud integration, HANA cloud integration. And for order based planning, we have a SDI. And the SDI has a component or a plugin like core interface with the ECC or S4 ECC. So which sits on your ERP and it is capable to read all the tables for master data and transactional data in ERP and brings them into a staging area and then pushes it to IBP through DP agents, data provisioning agents, what they call. So when you are working with the response and supply planning, you must have an ECC system to enable SDI integration. So just to give you the detail of this integration, which is the order based planning integration, which is new to many of you. So you must have on your premise your S4 HANA, which has an add-on for IBP, and we call this as a SDI, and it comes with a data provisioning adapter, data provisioning agent. What it does is, through the different BAPIs implemented, it brings all the relevant data for IBP into staging tables. And then once data provision adapter is triggered, it pushes that data into SDI agent for IBP, and then application receives that data. And this data is specially called as external data in IBP. If you have seen the planning areas, you will find that there is a checkbox in a planning area configuration that whether it is external data, checkbox is there or not.
Okay. Rahul, so I think the modifications, if at all required, can be done during the staging area. In the staging area?
Yes. So the modification major master data changes has to be done in your target system. And there is again the concept of change pointers. So those are taken care and the delta can be sent. And there
the target or the source system, sorry.
Yeah, target system, in source system. So no modification can be done in a target system in this flow.
Okay.
So whatever is there in your on premise has to go in IBP, and IBP does not allow you to change anything there. IBP is a very restrictive environment, and you also know, if you have worked with the time series models also, it only allows change through Excel interface. But here in this case, for the response and supply, it does not allow the changes in Excel interface also. So whatever change you want to do, it has to be here in the source system, and then the target is aligned with the changes. So this is
So
because,
it's all in ABAP, right? Or different?
can you repeat your question? It was not
It,
clear.
the changes can be done in staging area. I mean, the code written is in ABAP, right?
Yeah, so you can modify the code. You can you have a full flexibility to modify the codes and the BAPIs in the staging area.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
So that is a flexibility we are having. And I will let you know an example what we have done, what I have done for Procter and Gamble prototype. So we have played with the only staging area. I will take that scenario case at the later stage of this presentation.
Rahul, this is nothing but SIF, right? What APO in SIF does is this is the same thing?
No,
Or it is
no. SIF is far mature. SIF is a real-time movement.
different? Okay.
So this is
Okay.
not real time. This is a close to real time.
Okay.
You can schedule it frequently as much as you want.
Okay. Rahul, just keep eye on time. Maybe
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah, I will be faster. So this is just to show you how this plugin looks like in ECC. So here we have a supply chain planning interface. You have a tab called integrated business planning. Then you have integration models like Krishna was telling about SIF. So Krishna, you are always asking a question, just a previous slide. So I have answered in the next slide always. So you can see, and I will not spend more time here because there are many more things to cover. So now coming to the question, what is a supply and response solution? So this is the answer to Pablo, extended answer to Pablo, that response and supply, if you compare with the APO, we have a supply network planning which has a CTM, and we have a global available to promise which has a backorder processing. So these two are combining in a supply and response solution. And what it does is, it does an order prioritization. Order prioritization is currently done in CTM. Product allocation. Product allocation is done in GATP. Supply proposals with the pegging. The CTM is capable of doing supply proposals and pegging. Order confirmation and order simulations. So this is a value add for IBP. Order simulations. You can simulate sales order and see how it is working. Is it good to have the new order, which is a big? As I gave you example in the earlier situation, that there is a new order coming in and you can simulate and check whether it will be fulfilled or not. So these are the things which this solution is providing. Now let us go into more details of the solution. So this solution in principle has two major operators. One operator is called as a supply and allocation plan or constraint forecast run, and another operator is called as a confirmation run. So what it does is, it just captures input, the first run, which is supply allocation planning. Its output is your allocation numbers and supply proposals. So it takes the unconstrained demand, which is a result of your S&OP cycle, as an input, and available supplies and supply constraint. Propagate that demand and collaborates with the supplier. It also can take from Ariba your supplier commits, which also becomes another level of a constrained supply. And then it sequences the demand by priority. So this is main important concept. This block is very important here in this solution, because sequencing the demand by priority, so you prioritize your customer that if I have a shortage, then I just want to supply to my Walmarts, my Costco's, my Target. Big lots will suffer if I have a shortage. Kroger will suffer if I have a shortage. So you have to categorize your customers, classify your customers in your prime accounts and non-prime accounts, and rank them sequentially what you want to do in case of a conflict is there. So this has to be a unique sequencing. So
Rahul, just a question here.
yep.
See, prioritizing demand, can we also include the demands from the lower level DCs here or something like that? See, we have customer demands and also demand from lower level DCs where, I mean, probably the target stock level or the safety stock level is low. Can we prioritize such situations?
So your internal demand is a separate thing than this external demand. Your internal demand is your location dependent demand. What you are saying is you are having a safety stock target at a particular location and which is generating an internal demand to another node. Is this your question?
Yes, yes.
So yes, we can prioritize because there are different demand categories which can be clubbed together and you can sequence them.
Okay.
Well, but I'm not sure if that was the same question. I also can think of a situation where there is a demand for a finished product, but that requires some supply of some semi-finished product that is used by several finished products, no?
So yes,
So you can also consider that, no?
correct. We can consider that also because mainly the priorities are governed by whatever sequence you are choosing for the order categories. So as soon as there is a, suppose I take one example where I have both the demands are my customer demands. Like one is from Big Lots or Kroger and another is coming from Costco. So Costco is on my higher ranking and Kroger is lower ranked customer. So these two demands for finished product, same finished product. I'm talking about a competing product. Competing product, so both are asking for the same product. So if there is a demand, then all the demand is propagated backwards to the production point and then the bomb is exploded and the same priorities are carried to the bomb. Because there is a pegging relationship going on in this operator. So peggings are injected across the explosion. To which demand their bomb is exploded. This is tracked. So it is easier for anyone to know that if there is a raw material available on a particular date, this is for which demand it is going to. And the same is the case with the earlier question where there is an internal demand for a node or maybe a target inventory requirement are there. So all these demand elements are categorized in a separate way. So there can be a demand for internal, like there is a forecast. There is no real customer, but forecast for a customer. There is no order, but there is a forecast for a customer. So in this way, the first operator generates a supply proposals and a constrained forecast. Constrained forecast means whatever can be supplied in the current situation, that becomes a constrained number. And that number translates into allocation. So has anyone worked on allocation scenarios earlier? So if not, this is a methodical way to generate allocations. And these generated allocation in the first run becomes input to the second run, which is order confirmation. So the input for the confirmation run are the customer orders, shipments and supplies. Supplies are same like the earlier run. And another is allocation, which was output of the first run. And then again it is considering the sequence of the demands, and then the run starts and you get the confirmations and supply proposals. So this final result of order confirmation and supply proposal is feedback to execution system. So now I will go to the next level of detail of this process. So for the first run, which is the allocation planning run or a constraint forecast run, these are the major inputs. Your demand, which is the unconstrained forecast, your supply constraint. Your supply constraint can be in many of the forms, like a production capacity, lead times, supplier commits, your safety stock targets, your fixed receipts from ECC. That is again a part of a supply element which is supposed to be coming into that particular node or location for a product in a stipulated time. And the output of this run is your constraint forecast, and I have been repeatedly saying that this constraint forecast turns into allocation, and we will see in ahead how it goes. And STRs, supply proposals, stock transfer requisitions from node to node, and the production planned, how much production we need to have. This is the output of first run. So I am just putting some asterisk for uniqueness between the two runs. So here the input is a demand, here the input becomes a sales order and open forecast. Another portion is allocation. The supply constraint remains same, and the output are confirmed orders, again STRs and production plan. So now with the
Rahul, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, we need to run these two operators
sequentially.
consecutively. Right?
Yes, you are right. You are perfectly right. And this was the statement I was about to make after this slide or somewhere, that these two operators should be operated sequentially, one after the other. Because once you execute this operator, supply planning, allocation planning, you can find the results and you may try to adjust allocations manually, because you have some intelligence with you that these allocations generated are not good enough. You can adjust the allocations, and once you are good with the results of this run, I think, hello. Yeah, this was a good music for a break. So you can do some adjustment before executing another run, because it may feel that the planner may see that allocations what system is generating is not sufficient enough for a particular customer, or we are over allocating to another customer, and which is not good. So allocations can be adjusted before executing the confirmation run.
Okay. So what is the difference between the STR generated from the first operator and the second operator? So do we send them back to ECC or S4 during the first operator run as well?
No, we don't send them to first operator, because these STRs generated are not as per a full plan, because here the demand is considered only, a forecast is considered as a demand.
Yeah.
Right.
Sort of similar to a heuristic run where majority of the situations we do not send to APU.
Exactly, you are right. But
okay.
this results combined with the sales orders in this run becomes complete here.
Yeah.
So if you see overall solution, you will find that demand, sales orders, open forecast, everything is being considered, and the output is this. And this output is sent to execution system.
Yeah. Clear. Thanks, Rahul.
I think it is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it is fair to say that this also replaces deployment, no, in APO?
Yes, with the latest couple of releases, the deployment solution is also coming in. So logically, this portion will be considered, the output of the response planning or confirmation run would be considered by deployment run, which is a subsequent, and I am not covering the deployment because I have not worked on it and I don't know how it works. And this is what I am presenting is what I have worked in, and I can pass on the knowledge with the confidence. So deployment run remains open topic right now with this scope of presentation.
Okay.
So now I am going to the sequential procedures, step-by-step procedures, how to set up response, supply and response planning. So first thing is to set up allocation profiles and a forecast consumption profile. So, and to everyone's knowledge, this system is a very Fiori app specific system, and it is heavily using Fiori apps. So in Fiori app, you will find a section for account manager, which are having all the tiles related to response and supply planning. If you open currently the system for BBT, you will not find any response planning tiles allocated to any one of us. So in that you have a forecast consumption settings. In the earlier run when I was creating for Procter & Gamble prototype, the allocation profile and forecast consumption profile were same. So if I create a forecast consumption profile, I have to assign it to every material and location. This profile is created in Fiori app of IBP, and once you create that, you have to assign it to ECC table of material location, where you have a modification facility available for only few of the tables, and one of them is location product table, where you can assign the created allocation or forecast consumption profile manually. You have to assign, and then it flows as a master data into IBP. So if you remember recently when Luca was in testing session at SAP, he posted a comment on WhatsApp group. Miguel, you remember Luca's comment? That integration is a crap with the response. Krishna, you are there? So Luca was
I remember.
So Luca was mentioning about this portion. So he told that you have to create the profile here and then go back to ECC and do the maintenance here in ECC. There is a location material maintenance tab option. Here go and add that forecast profile there, and then with the integration layer it comes into your master data as like this. So you have to just set one profile, and allocation procedure was same for them. Whatever consumption profile you set here in IBP, allocation profile was same at that time. But now in 1802, we have a separate setting options for forecast consumption and allocation procedure. This is what I read in the latest release document that we have these two separate tabs now to configure. And we faced challenges while demoing that why are these two same, and we raised the concern with the SAP also at that time. So after setting these two, next is how to set demand prioritization. So how the demand prioritization is set in the system. So here is just a concept I am throwing to you, and I will show the system itself. I have some recorded videos. I will take opportunity to show it to you. So demand prioritization is done in IBP in a majorly 3 steps. You have to segment your demand. After segmenting the demand, arrange those segments in a sequential fashion. Then this sequential fashion becomes your priority list. They are ranked, given a rank in a system. So lowest rank is the highest priority. Rank 1 will be supplied first, will be fulfilled first. So to just polish this concept, so there can be a list of demand with different colors. There are different demands from different customers. So just to categorize your customers, like I just have a demand for blue items, demand for from green customer, and demand from orange customer. So my blue customer is the highest ranked, and then is my green, and then is my orange. And in the blue customer, there can be a sales order or a forecast. In the green customer also, there can be a sales order or a forecast. And orange customer, there can be a sales order and a forecast. So this is how the business wants. You can define the rules and the sorting criteria. So here you are sorting that demand. So if there are 100 demands, what can be the sorting criteria? First in, first out. I'm just naming it out very loud, a wild. First come, first serve. Like whatever the requested date is there, if it is coming first, I will serve them first. Or it can be a reversed order. If it is coming late, I will serve them first. LIFO, last in, first out. So it can be anything how the business operates and what are the business rules deriving that sequence of fulfillment. So those sorting sequence can be made in a particular segment which has been defined, and then those segments can be arranged to define a rule. So this concept from this slide and my explanation may be a bit hazy. So this is how I would give you another detailed view. How to create a segment. So in Fiori app, you go to the segment creation tile, and once you go to that tile, you will be given this pop-up. And in this pop-up, you have to just give the name and then segment condition. This is a technical expression, and here what I could learn from was from the help and some associates who developed this product, that how to write these conditions. And this was the condition statements which we wrote for Procter & Gamble. This was priority rules or segments which we created for Procter & Gamble. So when it's a MRP type is nothing but denoting the order category. Yeah, it may seem misnomer, but this is the fact of the tool. So when it's a VC denotes sales order, PR denotes forecast. So if you see this segment, it says MRP type is equal to VC, and my customer classification is 01. So wherever my customer classification is 01, it means this is a higher priority customer.
Rahul, see, what is this IBP RM underscore VB underscore something?
So this is some technical description of the field, what it is reading.
Okay.
So IBP RM VV DMFC. So this is some technical expression. And what we are bothered about is,
How do we know that we need to use this expression? I mean, probably is it mentioned in help or?
yeah, this
we
is
need
mentioned
to-
in the help, and now this is help is very matured help. So not only these two order categories, we have multiple order categories. So in a real-time scenario, it is not only the sales order. You would find there are multiple sales order categories. It can be a quotation order, it can be an advanced order, it can be expedited order. It can be a consignment order.
Okay.
So how do you want to prioritize those orders? So those categories can be written in this rule. So once you are filtering out with this rule, this is just a filter condition. So all those orders get aggregated in a bucket. Now you must have some sorting criteria, sort attributes. How are you sorting them? So this is what I chose. I would sort on requested date in ascending order. So the lowest comes first, and if there is any conflict that there are orders from customer classification 01 and both are sales orders and both are coming in on a same date, then how to resolve that conflict? Then I chose to use the order number as a field to resolve the conflict, because I know ECC will generate order numbers in a sequence. So if I have a lower sequential number of an order, it means it arrived first. So it has a good candidature to be a higher ranked with my logic that what comes first gets the product allocation or get fulfilled. So here when you go to the real system, and sorry that I could not have a real system in place, because whatever I did was on the client system and now that is not available with us. So you can have a 10 or 15 sorting criteria just to resolve the conflict if it appears. And you can choose other methods also for sorting, not only a requested date, but you can choose your shipment number or whatever criteria you want. Maybe you have a material priorities, you have a location priorities, you can choose those. So this is just example of a class 1 customer sales order segment. So this way class 2 customer sales order was also created, class 3 customer sales orders were created, and then catch all. So this is very important concept when you are putting some prioritization rules or segments. So there must be catch all segment so that it captures all the remaining things. Any uncaptured order, if remains in the system which is not captured in any of your selection criteria or sequencing conditions, then that order can appear at any place in your ranking order, which will disrupt your prioritization. So here what I have done is, after I created all these segments, I place them in the sequential order. And once you are setting this, and you have an option to rank your orders and see it in a screen, and it will show the order sequence, what are the order numbers, what is the material number, what is the location number, and the rank associated with that order. And this is the comment which I just spoke with you, that remember to capture all the orders in the system in the created segments. Uncaptured order can disrupt the ranking as they may appear in any random order. So now I will just show you a video so that.
So here I plan to show you how we can do demand prioritization in IBP. So on IBP you get a tile for view demand by priority. Once you click on this tile, the Fury app takes you to this next screen where you can choose the version ID. Here I am choosing base version. And once you choose the base version, and you need to select a rule. So here I am selecting a rule which says sales order and then forecast. And when I click go, here you can see how the demands get prioritized. So in this view you will see all the demands are being ranked. You can see the rankings. And you can see the sales orders are given higher ranks than the forecast. And the same order will be followed and taken into consideration when any other operator runs.
And here I have attached a Word document also. So which gives you step-by-step process to set up this demand prioritization and segmentation. So any question regarding this, because this is just a knowledge piece to all of you. So I will proceed now. So once you are setting this prioritization and segmentation rules, now you can execute your first operator, which is a supply allocation planning, which needs these as an input, and it would generate output as stated. So next video will show how are we executing this operator.
Now we are validating the inputs for constraint supply run. And this run is also called as a allocation generation run, because constraint forecast is generally copied as the allocation. So first input is unconstrained forecast. So this seems to be available. Now, next, we have a supplier commits, which is a constraint for every product, what supplier can supply on particular day. Let us see what are the capacities. So we have a capacity numbers already existing, adjustments also done, and final is available. This is good. And let us see the stock situation. The projected stock, initial stock values are populated in the system. So we are good to proceed with the run. Okay, let us see how to execute this algorithm. Go to application jobs, choose new, choose a constraint forecast run, order-based planning. You can choose the materials, whatever you want. So I'm just choosing all the IBP materials. So you can see all the IBP materials are selected. I take the tick box and save it. Now I schedule this run. And this run, I'll just refresh go, and let us see. This is finished. Okay, this is done. Now let us see, again back in the system.
So once this run is done, the next step is to copy the result of the constraint forecast into allocation key figure. So By default, IBP is providing this copy operator, that copy constraint forecast to product allocation. We just need to execute this copy operator and the results are getting copied. And this is the snapshot which shows that whatever forecast constraint was there, it was copied to allocation key figure. And then, as I told, the planner may want to adjust some of the allocation numbers which he seems is not good. So like here, what planner is doing is, he is just shifting the allocation. So here he had 354, he made it 200 because he could see that the order is coming in that fashion. So he could adjust them and final allocation could be seen here. So once the adjustment of allocation is done, we are good for the next run, which is a confirmation run. And how to execute that? So this short video will tell you.
So now we have allocation ready for us, which is the input to the next run, which is a confirmation run. This confirmation run will again consider all of the demand and will try to confirm all the orders, that is sales orders and forecasts, and any other order category if it is existing in a system and appears in a rank in a priority. So first we will look at how our priority ranking are visible for this run. So let us see by clicking on view demand priority view. Okay, I'll choose base version. And I will choose the latest rule, which is for 1802, which again will prioritize my sales orders before my forecasts. So this is starting the prioritization, and this is what is in the scope of this run, that I have sales orders, then forecast, prioritize. So, and these are the ranking of my demand. And these all are unconfirmed sales orders, 100% non-confirmed. Okay. Now let us execute the confirmation run. So now I see the job is finished, and let us analyze the results now. So to analyze results, we will go to view confirmation, and I'll choose horizon for 11, 1, current. And I see that there are confirmations and there are few orders which are not fully confirmed. So let us choose one of them and see what is the reason behind that. So let us see the product allocation detail for this order. So we have allocation distributed in two different buckets. So it is getting confirmed late. And this is a gating factor report which shows that how this is getting the stock transfer request on 2 days, two different dates. So one is on time, another is delayed because of the allocation quantity was not appropriate. If we scroll right, we can see the confirmation dates are given, and we can solve this problem by increasing allocation if we want, if there is a possibility.
So this is how we can see the how execution is flowing. And the Fiori app gives multiple tools to just analyze the results, and one of the tool what you saw was view confirmation, and these views are interrelated. So view confirmation took us to gating factor report. So gating factor is a major analysis tool to analyze the results of the run, and gating factor report gives all the reasons, whatever the reason the confirmation is not happening, what is the bottleneck or what is restricting or obstacle to fulfill that order. It can be your supply is not available, your capacity is overloaded, your resource is overloaded, or there is a supplier commit which is restricting the raw material. So all these problems are automatically shown in that report for that order. Then you can act on a particular order which is interest for you, solve that problem, and re-execute the confirmation run. So because the system was not available to me, I just recorded a few videos from SAP Direct just for the purpose of this session, and hope that was clear to you. Any question on this before I proceed ahead?
Rahul, regarding the allocations, a little bit back on your presentation, can the allocations are fixed in the way of the level they are set up, or you can set up at different levels?
Yeah, allocation you can set up at different levels. It is the planning level concept what we are using. So whenever you set the allocation profile, you remember the first two steps were forecast consumption and allocation procedure. So in that allocation procedure screen, you get an option to select the level of planning level of allocation which is to be calculated at, and it can be consumed at that level. So it can be a customer product location level, or it can be a product location level. So whatever business rules are there, we can configure that level for the product allocation.
But if you want a higher level, like product or
customer only, yeah,
I don't know.
Yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do.
Okay, good.
You can do at aggregated level, because the same question came when I was configuring that in Procter and Gamble. So I was configuring at location product level, which is an aggregation of a customer allocation. But they wanted to be at a detailed level. So I had to create a customer level, but at that time, the option was not given by SAP to change the levels. But later on, they have added it, and I could get some fix done so that I could show them how the customer product location level can be used for product allocation consumption.
Okay, thank you.
So once these runs are executed, next I will show you.
So now we have
what are the tools to analyze the results of the operators which we have. So one of the tool is a view confirmation, which I was discussing after the execution happened. So in this view, you have two options. So hopefully it is visible to every one of you. There is on the right side where 2 is written, order network and competing demand. So by default, this is showing competing demand. Competing demand means whatever rule you have created, this demand I am analyzing, and for the same material, same product, same customer, what are the other demands falling in that particular segment to which it has to compete with, or the demand which has the potential that it can take its share. So this view is very comprehensive view for this particular order which we are analyzing right now, and the order number is written here 890, ending with 890. Here at the bottom most, where the point is written 4, if you click, it can display the allocation details, and this allocation details is fed from your Excel edits to Fiori app at that moment on real time basis, and you can see the situation of the allocation details for that particular order in Fiori app itself. So this is the allocation quantity, and this is already consumed quantity. So the remaining allocation is 100 only, and the confirmed quantity, if you see this line, the requested quantity is 143, and the system has confirmed 143 because there were many other competing orders. It has confirmed the other orders also, so remaining allocation for this particular scenario is only 100 remaining. So it is very easier to analyze what is happening, what all sequence is being considered in order fulfillment, and how the allocation is playing role. If allocation is not sufficient, it will showcase in your gating factor report. So I can share with you all the scripts which I have created during Procter & Gamble, and this is the view from Procter & Gamble prototype. And another tool is if I switch to order network, this is a very important view. It shows a sales order, and if you scroll down by clicking on point 2, it will give you all the pegging relationships, that what was the stock transfer requisition generated, from which location, for what quantity, and what is that stock transfer requisition temporary order number. So temporary order number is getting generated, which can be passed on to any execution system to make it a permanent order, ECC order number. That conversion can take place in ECC or execution system. So, and this is a different tool than what we have been seeing in IBP, in what we have been considering IBP as, because this is very closer to execution system, so it is very tightly integrated with execution system. And Fiori apps does not gives the flexibility feature what we used to have in IBP, S&OP, and demand or supply and inventory, that we can change anything anytime in the master data or transactional data by flat files or Excel interface. Here you will not find those facilities because you are closer to real-time operations. Are you all with me, or I am boring you? Hello?
We're here, Rahul. Very interesting.
I am following you.
We are all following you.
Thanks.
So much attention, Rahul, you have no idea.
Okay, so I will proceed with the next tool to analyze. So this is what
So-
the PNG was
Rahul.
odd with, means
Rahul, just one quick one. You are only a few minutes left. Just, gauge the speed. Okay?
yes. So I'm also closer to the end, and this is the screen which shows you the capability of this tool. One sales order where multi-level bomb explosion happened, and the pegging orders are shown. So if you see this, the sales order for a material number this. So there was a stock transfer from this location, and there were planned orders for its components. These are the components. For this component there was a stock available, but for all the other components the planned orders are there. So those things, it is a multi-level bomb explosion. And you can see at the bottom of the screen there are production orders being generated for the components which are in-house manufactured. So this is a level of this is a 77 line item report for a single order. So your pegging is here, your multi-level bomb explosion capabilities are here, and full order fulfillment capabilities is in this tool. The gating factor I have already talked about, that it gives you the report that what made this order fail, what was the reason of non-fulfillment of this order. And you have another tool called sales order simulation to simulate any demand shock situation, which is a real-time situation. Maybe today the order comes and you want to gauge, can we fulfill this order? So I'm just giving you an example, one of the example which Procter & Gamble was having. The big order from a Walmart for Gillette Fusion shaving razors. So, and we also have this projected stock view, which is equivalent to product view in APO and MD04 in ECC, which gives you full status of a product at a location, that what is a stock and how the stock is getting augmented or consumed with the demand. Sorry, I could not show you the good demo for the projected stock and analyze supply usage. Analyze supply usage is a recent addition. It was not existing earlier, and this enables to see the pegging relationship between the individual demand and supply. It is a roster for all the demands and what all supplies are pegged to it to fulfill it, or if there is a partial fulfillment, what all are the components for partial fulfillment. And now I'm just showcasing what Procter & Gamble we did. So in a Procter & Gamble, it was a big solution presented by us where the S&OP, inventory and response and supply were in scope. So they call these scenarios, like Walmart example I gave, IBA scenarios. IBA is incremental business assessments. Krishna, the demand shock, what the term which is used in a Kellogg's, Procter & Gamble calls that as a IBA, incremental business assessment. If they,
okay.
So in principle, the use case is the same, that if there is a new demand coming in or a big demand, big order is coming in, how can we satisfy that particular thing?
Okay.
Another good feature is that we can have some alerts configured, the custom alerts, and those custom alerts now have a feature that if you click on that alert, it takes you to the Excel login for that particular combination and shows you the Excel view. And you can configure that if you want to click on this alert, what all key figures you want to see. You may want to edit at the real-time basis and remove that alert. If there is a capacity constraint happening, then you can adjust capacity on the real-time basis, save it and come back and the alert will be gone. And this was the whole solution swim lane diagram for Procter & Gamble, where we were showing them how the inventory fits and how S&OP, when I say category planning, this is S&OP, what they are doing, demand and supply balancing. And they have a demand sensing and demand planning tool which is run on daily basis. And this is the view which shows how the time granularity are increasing or decreasing as you go towards the execution system. And this was my focus, the blue box, response planning and supply allocation planning. And what we did here, so if I give you a brief understanding of this figure, so from demand and supply balancing S&OP, we were getting capacity constraints for supply allocation run and response planning. We were also getting the input as where is that input from demand planning, demand segmentation and response. So another input was just the demand plan, and with this we executed, and whatever the allocations we generated was being sent to GATP system, that is execution level, and all the STRs were sent to MRP run for MRP in ECC. So that prototype was a complete solution prototype, like S&OP, inventory, and response and supply. All were there. And this was the landscape which we used. And that was the 80% of the project effort went into creating this landscape or making the data flow possible. The major challenge was for the prototype system, they were not having ECC. Procter & Gamble, they didn't provide us ECC because it is a critical system for them and they don't want to give their ECC system for a prototype with the external party. So what we did, we created a shadow ECC system. This between the red lines, this is a shadow ECC system created by us. We got dumped from their ECC systems the files like Mara, Marty, KNA, KNNUR for customer. So all those files were dumped from their system and we loaded in our blank shadow ERP system. So to identify what all files or master data objects is required for IBP to run, this took around 70 to 75% of the effort. And then to provide interface to upload those files into available ECC system for tables. And then this SDI interface used to execute, and staging tables were populated and passed on to DP server of cloud. And this is how we reached, the data reached IBP. And because of such effort, we avoided the data flowing backwards to ERP system. So this is the same replication of the data flow slide which I gave you earlier. And that is all from my side, and now I am open for questions. Everyone, are you awake?
Yeah, totally.
We are shocked, Rahul. That's why.
Shocked, or rather information bombardment and
yeah, kind
so
of.
Too
kind
many
of that,
things
but
in a small time. Yeah, that will take some time to digest and come up with the questions.
yes, very interesting. And in fact, slide 5 of your presentation is the one that Lucas sent, that we all must know in detail, in order to share with the customer. So, I mean, lots of questions from the customers regarding the difference between APO, S4HANA, IBP, and whatever. So, I mean, we have to be very careful of what kind of information we have to give regarding CTM, global ATP, and response and suppliers.
Yeah, you are right, because all the customers are in a inflection situation right now, that what they have to do and what should be their strategy going ahead. So they are taking some careful decisions of what is coming in as a new. So we have to be equally cautious while selling them or
Yeah.
stating anything.
Yeah, that's why Luca and Krishna they build this white paper of APO, comparing it with S4HANA, because that kind of questions are coming, and we have to be very wise answering, because customers are building their roadmap and they have to be very careful about all this. So that's good.
Hi, Rahul, Rodrigo here. I have a small question.
Yes, Rodrigo.
Is demand sensing a must-have for this? Or?
No, demand sensing is not must-have for this. So this needs a unconstrained forecast, which can be the result of your SNOP or SIOP execution.
Okay.
And Rodrigo, and you need a lot of patience to work with response.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
it is not a quick response. So you need
No,
require So it was exactly a year back from today's date where I was struggling with the SDI interface and the porting the master data. It was in February at Procter & Gamble.
Yes, but captains are born in storms, Rahul. That's why you are the captain of this.
Okay. Pablo, looks like vacation went very well.
I'm a poet now, you know.
Yeah, no.
I'm writing books and
You have
everything.
gone through some management course website.
I can see that, let boss wake up. He'll have a chat with you.
Correct.
You saw his message last night, right?
Some kind of, yeah.
Now I'm stopping the recording.